Welcome to Talk Commerce, where we explore how merchants, agencies, and developers experience commerce, ecosystems, and the communities they work and live in. This week, we interview Stefan Willkommer with TechDivision in Germany. We discuss Adobe Commerce, Magento Open Source, and the health of the Magento community. We dive into Adobe Commerce and Adobe Experience Manager and look at how it is working for merchants, even in the mid-market. We learn about the fantastic new office space that TechDivision has built and has yet to have people come back to. Stefan gives us some great books to read, as well as some great advice that any business owner should ask. This is a can't-miss episode. The Talk Commerce podcast is sponsored by SwiftOtter. E-commerce developers solve problems daily. In fact, some of those seem like mountainous hurdles that must be climbed in a matter of hours. Stress levels can go through the roof. No wonder the plague of burnout affects developers too. But there's a vaccine for that. Investing time in your career will take you farther than you ever imagined. Meet SwiftOtter. SwiftOtter exists to help you become the e-commerce hero that is indispensable and irreplaceable at your company. We do this through Magento certification study materials and Joseph Maxwell's most recent book, The Art of E-commerce Debugging. Go to swiftotter.com to learn more about how you can quickly climb the ranks in your quest to be a better developer. While you're there, use the coupon code TALKCommerce for 15% off any digital goods at swiftotter.com. This episode is sponsored by eWay Corporation, the partner of choice for technology, infrastructure, and enterprise-level digital solutions. An AWS Select Consulting partner, eWay Corporation, forward together. My name is Brent Peterson, and I'm your host. Please remember to subscribe wherever you download your podcasts. And now, Talk Commerce. Welcome to Talk Commerce. I have Stefan here all the way from Munich, Germany, or thereabouts. Stefan, why don't you introduce yourself, tell us what you do and what one of your passions is in life.
Yeah, thank you, Brent, for having me. And my name is Stefan Willkommer. I'm co-founder and CEO at TechDivision. We are technology service provider for commerce, of course. Not only commerce, we're doing a lot of other stuff actually, or in the meantime also. And yeah, what I do when I'm not working in the area of commerce, I do also quite some running, basically in the mountains. So I'm addicted to trail running and also mountaineering. So not always running in the mountain, but also, climbing on the mountain when I have the time. And that's what I really, really love to do in my free time. And of course, before the pandemic, I was around the globe visiting a lot of commerce events around Magento. That was also quite some fun. Now, as we are doing it all digital, this is also fun, just different. But yeah, that's basically what I do.
Yeah, and I just want to comment that you are a fantastic on-stage presenter, and I had the pleasure of watching your presentation on the unicorn candy in, I don't know, 2017 or 2018, where you talked about high volume Magento, and then I think you gave the same presentation in India, which didn't quite resonate as well, but still was very entertaining. In Leipzig, the one that you gave was extremely entertaining. So I applaud you at doing that.
Thank you for that.
Yeah,
I had quite some fun there.
Yes, absolutely. And I've been to Meet Magento Germany, I think since 2015 or 2016. I think before that, I went to Magento Live Germany in Munich in 2014. So it's always been a very well put on event. And I know that you were going to put on Meet Magento's Germany in 2020, but obviously we had a little bit of a blocker for that. And maybe we'll hopefully get there in 2022.
Yeah, let's see. Actually, we are not sure. So as the times are changing tremendously fast, we probably will finalize the planning, or we try to finalize the planning by this fall. So I guess so. This is normally the time when we start to plan the event, and then we see how we are able. And also, I mean, it's not so easy to find the right. I mean, we already had venues for 2020 and then for 21, but then we canceled everything, and we will have to see if it will be able. We are able to find a good venue, maybe the one in Leipzig or another one. We will see. So actually, there is nothing fixed yet, but let's see what is coming in the future.
Yeah, and I was looking forward to come to Munich. And if you do plan it in Munich in October, the marathon is in October. But there's also a 50K in Heidelberg that I've been inviting everybody for us to run together, and that's in the mountains. So maybe we could all do that instead.
I
I
give it
think
a
it's the
thought.
same
The one in
weekend.
the mountain would be interesting. That would really interest me
Yeah,
personally also.
it's in Vanai Kopp's hometown. So, anyways,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
that's
Nice.
completely off topic. Yeah. So, why don't you tell us a little bit about how you're seeing the Adobe community, or how you're seeing Adobe working now with Magento, and what are some of those strong points?
I mean, for us, as we have focused anyway, or I mean, before Adobe bought Magento, we already focused on larger clients, and we in Germany we have this German Mittelstand, which is a really interesting target group for us of customers, and also a lot of B2B, really interesting B2B companies are there, and we focused there before Adobe bought Magento. So and as with that, we already used or mainly Magento Commerce for our implementations, and I would say really just a really small portion of our projects is open source, and I don't know. I think we only have one or two left, which are based on Magento open source. So as we are anyway more focusing on the larger customers, us or our company, the fact that the change which is going on right now with the ecosystem brought through Adobe, as they are also, I mean, more and more focusing on large enterprises, or what we call, as I said, the German Mittelstand. So for us, I would say nothing really changed. A couple of things changed, but honestly speaking, for us as a company, as TechDivision, changed for the better, because the support we have now with Adobe is much better. The resources which are in place here in Germany are much more, because I mean, from a Magento standpoint, there were just a couple of people here on the ground in Germany, and with Adobe you have now a couple of hundred people in the DX space, which are covering, or which are doing different areas, or covering different areas from sales over customer success and service, and also, I mean, there is a huge development here for a digital experience business in Basel, in Switzerland, here across the border to Switzerland, and also one in Hamburg for a creative cloud business. So there is a lot of, or there are sweet spots here for Adobe in the Central European region, and this helps us in some ways, especially with the mid-market merchants and clients we are talking. But yeah, I mean, from a community standpoint, I have to admit, I have not, I mean, with the pandemic, and as a lot of events were not taking place over the last year, and it seems that a lot of also companies and members of the community rearranging themselves. I also have not really find my place in the open source community yet. So and I don't know if it will ever be the same. I guess probably not. I mean, this is just the things, how the things are going. I mean, things are changing, and also I mean the idea and of TechDivision and how we are transforming our company now to the requirements of the demands of the market. This is all is changing, and I don't know. I guess there will not be the Magento community anymore as we all from the past know. There will be probably a different one, but not the same as it was a couple of years ago. And I mean, we should look into that also again as an opportunity. I mean, when there is change, there always are some opportunities, I would say, and that's how I see it right now.
Yeah, I think the biggest the name change, Adobe Commerce, brings us into allowing people from Adobe to be part of the Magento community. So if we don't think about open source and commercial, we think of it as just a Magento product. And I think one thing that we have had now with the name change, it's really essentially the same product still. It's Magento Commerce changed to Adobe Commerce. And there's not a big differentiator between open source and commercial still, except for some features and so obviously support, but it still does allow regular Magento open source people to participate in this new community, if we want to call it a new community. Okay, so from the Adobe side, then, what sort of opportunities do you see merchants getting now that Adobe Commerce is sort of more integrated in with a lot of the other Adobe enterprise products? What do you see as some really good plays right now for merchants?
There are a couple of good opportunities for merchants, and I mean, we all already use these kind of opportunities, and also leveraging the Adobe Experience Cloud tools for our merchants. And I would say, I mean, the mid-market offering which we are using here in the German market here, or the German speaking market, which is called Digital Foundation, and it's consisting of Adobe Experience Manager sites and assets, as well as analytics and target, and then normally combining it with Adobe Commerce. This is, I would say, a really nice offering for mid-market clients, because it's very cost efficient on the one hand, because the tools are quite well integrated. The time to market is very short, so you're able to, I mean, we have introduced that recently below 3 months. So we already have an implementation with these products within 3 months and bringing value to customers, and this, I think, is extraordinary. And on the other hand, you're able, I mean, merchants are then able to bringing solutions or having technology in place which were couple of years ago only for the enterprise. So you really have enterprise grade technology for a mid-market pricing, and for mid-market time to market. So I think this is a really great opportunity Adobe is bringing to smaller merchants also. I mean, of course, smaller merchants also means kind of a threshold, basically. So this is, of course, I mean, you have to differentiate, and this is probably was always kind of a problem of Magento, because Magento were used in so many spaces as the Swiss Army knife, and which it can be, but for some areas it's just it's just, just too big and too complex. And anyway, a lot of people used it for smaller merchants, which I think it's not the right solution. So if you want to have an scalable and flexible solution, then Magento is the right way. And also, if you have already kind of a threshold in revenue, then it is the right way. And to this customers, I would say the Adobe products are quite some good fit, especially when you are thinking about bringing content to bringing content commerce experience to your customers and focusing more on that experiences. Then I think it's a great tool set.
Yeah, I think some of the more exciting things that are happening besides what you've just kind of mentioned on that mid-market, and there is a perception that Adobe has pushed Adobe Commerce to the upper markets, where it's even maybe pricing out the mid-market. So it's refreshing to hear that the mid-market merchants are still included in this sort of mix. But I think another good position that Adobe has put in is many merchants, or I should say, many companies do their marketing or did their marketing exclusively through their Adobe platform. Let's just say through AEM, and they thought secondly about commerce. Now there's an easy plugin for commerce, and vice versa, where a lot of maybe only commerce clients had never thought about content and how that affects their site. Now with AEM and some of the other tools, it brings in a lot more functionality and like, I think, like you said, ease of integrations. Maybe you could speak to a little bit about where you're seeing, is it more from the commerce side or more for the content side that you're seeing the two come together more?
So actually as we are coming from the commerce side, I see it more from the commerce side actually. So right now this is the area where we have the most responses on our, let's say, sales plays around that. So leveraging the products, the Adobe products to already to commerce clients, to Magento or Adobe Commerce clients. So there are, I think, a lot of opportunities, as I said, and the other way is also something what I have discussed with a couple of people from the market and who have much more AEM experience than we have. I mean, we just have an AEM experience for, let's say, 2.5 years. So we started right after Adobe bought Magento. So we started looking into the product, and lucky for us that we already had a content management team already working with other solutions in place, but we haven't had any experience with AEM. But I mean, the concepts AEM are using are quite, with the content repository, they were quite familiar to our guys. So it was kind of an easy way to jump into that. Also with core components, which makes it quite easy to generate sites and generate well or great looking experiences more or less out of the box. So it's not that from the implementation standpoint, it's not that enterprise grade how you would expect that you need weeks or a month to build something you can see. So you can really easily with AEM and Magento or Adobe Commerce, it's hard always to if you have for 14 or 15, almost 15 years, 14 years it is using this name, it's hard to change it for within a couple of weeks. So but yeah, I mean, the integrations and that it's already quite nice, and it's easy to demo or showcase an integration with the AEM and Magento within a couple of days to a merchant, and they already see then benefits. But most of the merchants we are talking and where we are making or doing projects right now, they're just using they're not going the not yet going the full headless way. This is one way what you could do. So, but most of the clients right now are thinking of kind of hybrid approaches, because it's more cost efficient for the moment. Because if you're thinking about a fully headless integrated solution, then you probably also would go with a PWA, and then that would make it necessary to change the whole front end. And yeah, this is a little bit of a bigger investment, and also, I mean, honestly speaking, not PWA is not for everybody the right solution. I know it's a big buzzword, and headless is a big one, as well as the microservices and composable commerce architectures and stuff like that. And I think, I don't like to follow all these new trends and things. And for 90% of the merchants I talk to, a headless architecture is probably not the right way to go. Not for the moment.
Yeah, and I think, well, you do have a big person in your organization that is pushing PWA, Lars, and
yeah,
he seems to really love it. And then I see that you're also kind of following Eric Erway's composable commerce route. And I did see they also just released an AEM PWA integration with the two. So it's coming down the line, anyways. And I do tend to agree with you that there could be a need for both, but the traditional sort of front ending with Magento theming is still I don't know if it's a more practical way, but it's a more it's easier for now.
It will, and anyway, I think it will last for a while still. I'm 100% sure for that. And I mean, I love the idea of the headless approach, and also, I mean, the what you mentioned, composable commerce architectures. I think it's that these are from an architectural standpoint, there are good ways to go, or good ways for some clients, but not for every client. And this is something what sometimes I miss in these conversations, that it will always a lot of people talking always only about these right now buzzwords which are going around the streets, and but sometimes they're not really what the clients really, or what the merchants really need at the moment, because most of the merchants, they are not yet there, and they have to be developed into this direction, that also from a kind of a back-end infrastructure perspective. And I think sometimes we are too fast with what we want to implement, and what we want to do with our customers. And I think we should, I love innovation, of course, but anyway, you have to always think as your merchant, what would you do if you were the merchant, and from different perspectives. And that's the reason why I think, these are this is really the future for commerce, but it will take some time to reach the it's still kind of cutting edge, and it will take some time to reach the really the overall and wider mass market for commerce.
Yeah, and it's education for not only the merchant, but it's education for the agencies and developers as well, and how you're doing things. And as you mentioned, Magento's been around for 14 years or however long now.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that are used to doing it a certain way. And anytime you offer that sort of different, or trying to change things in something like that, where, oh, let's now deploy your front end completely separate from your back end, and let's separate everything and just connect them with GraphQL. That sometimes that would scare a new developer, or could scare a new developer, as well as the content change of going from a traditional theming to a React theming, and trying to get developers up and running in that new sort of front end language and way of thinking about it. there is a lot of hurdles to get over that. So I think that the traditional approach works for some, and as you said, this maybe newer headless approach or separated approach, we should say, will work for
Yeah.
others. What do you think about Magento? I'm sorry. What do you think about Adobe Commerce moving towards this sort of isolated services direction where maybe the backend would soon be just SaaS? We would just have APIs that we would access, and then the front end would be built on some custom application.
Basically, I think this is the way anyway most of the platforms are going, and I think microservice or kind of an isolated approach could be a good choice. Whether what kind of off target and client group you want to reach, and again, I mean, there is a group of customers out there in the market for which it will be the right way to go, and for some others probably it will not, and the same counts for service providers like us probably. I mean, for us, I think it could be a good choice, as we anyway are getting a little bit more away from only developing and being the prolonged working bench, instead of of course, I mean, development is still a big part at TechDivision, but we have attached a lot of services around the development and starting much earlier in the process. I mean, we are already starting with the strategy and all that kind of thing, as a strategy building, business model generation, then conceptual work, architecture, and then we are going to build kind of an service or an application, and then for most of the areas, I would say a SaaS backend could be a good solution, especially when you look to the possibility Adobe is offering with their general managed services cloud, like they're doing with AEM. This is a really appealing offering for a lot for customers as well. I mean, everything is coming out of the box from one vendor. From you have different, you can subscribe to different services, and they're neatly attached to each other, and this is, I think, could be a really nice offering. I mean, let's see where it moves, but probably, I mean, most of the solutions anyway are choosing this direction. So I assume it will go into this way, or will go this street down.
Yeah, we worked with a multinational maybe 3 years ago in Mexico, and their European division had chosen Commerce Tools for the DACA region, or DACA region. So they had chosen Commerce Tools with a different front end. So we did the job completely headless. And so the idea was that they could choose a back end to be able to plug into a front end anywhere in the world, and there would be this middle layer that would connect the front end to the back end, and they just have to redo one side of it, to plug into a different back end.
Yeah.
But so we launched our solution on Magento, and I think one of the advantages Magento had at the time, and still has for the Adobe Commerce version, is that we could build in those integrations and customizations directly into the code, where at the time anyways, Commerce Tool had to build each one as a separate node microservice, and the time it took to get those, and then I'm assuming the expense. I know that after 2 years, they weren't done with their project when it took us less than a year to finish our project. I think that complication and some of those microservices where you suddenly have to build out 20 microservices, it makes it much more difficult to try to produce something quickly.
I mean, that could be really a way for some merchants, again, as I said, but I mean, you have a good example here, because I figured out the same for another customer. I mean, they build a lot of not on commerce tools, but mainly on built by them. Most of the services they built by themselves, and they built a huge bunch of different services for their businesses they want to digitize. And the problem what they had finally, when they had I don't know, 40 or 50 services for different area, I mean, there was some insurance service involved, and the problem, the biggest problem basically when they went live with everything, and was the maintenance, the orchestration once you update one service, and dependency of other services to that service. And I mean, the dependency management from huge microservice infrastructure, this is just huge. I mean, and this can not be maintained for in smaller or mid-market projects, I would say. Sometimes, a kind of a solid, or let's say rock solid monolithical approach is not the worst way to do.
Yeah. Yeah. And I didn't want our talk to get super techie, but I think we're getting a little bit too techie for some people. So kind of looking at some of the smaller markets, what is the competition like in Germany when you push off? Like Magento open source is still a little bit more complicated than a lot of merchants need. And certainly what we're seeing is Shopify, BigCommerce coming on really strong in the US and in Mexico as well. Do you have the same sort of competition in Germany?
Yeah, we do see Shopify for, as you mentioned, the smaller merchants, definitely, because I mean, it's really out of the box SaaS. You don't have to take care of anything, almost anything solution. So this we definitely, I mean, we as TechDivision, we don't see it, because this is not our target group in terms of merchants, but we see it in the market, and they're getting traction definitely over the last 2 years, I would say. We see, of course, I mean, players, the local heroes, like Shopware is still around, so they're quite strong in Germany, also in the kind of the mid-market area, not really the enterprise grade, but at least in the mid-market we see them, and also in the B2B space they have now an offering. And yeah, basically that's the main competitors in the lower end. And then, of course, I mean, the going up to the enterprise, I mean, we see commerce tools, of course. We see a little bit of Spryker from time to time. Yeah,
I'm gonna interview somebody from Spryker this next couple of weeks. So we'll see how that goes.
yeah.
So that's interesting. I like Shopware. I just talked to Ben the other day, and Shopware is really a self-hosted, but I believe they do have a SaaS offering as well. So that is an interesting way of looking at things from both the SaaS and the open source standpoint. I had a great idea that Magento should do. They should try making a SaaS one and then just call it Magento Go. I was wondering if you had thought about anything like that would be a good idea to suggest to Adobe, and they could call it Adobe Go.
That was already there.
I
I
know, it's a
believe.
joke. Sorry. Yeah, they caught me.
I'm in this space also quite for some while, Brent.
Magento gone.
Yeah.
So I've always enjoyed kind of following TechDivision and your growth, and some of the, now you have almost 200 employees. Is that right?
No, we are not yet, but the plan is going close to the 200 mark by the end of the year. So somewhere
Okay.
between 150 and 200.
Yeah. So tell
But
us
it's still exciting. Yeah.
Yeah. So tell us that you've moved. I saw some of the pictures, I think on LinkedIn or somewhere on Twitter, that you've moved into some new office space now. Looks super fancy, very nice. It makes me want to move to Germany and work from your space. Tell us a little bit about tell us a little bit about moving offices in the middle of a pandemic.
That's quite some interesting question, definitely, and I think I talked about that for with a couple of people already, and it still always fascinates me because I mean, once your plan of moving to, like we have now in this office building like 3,000 square meters, so it's quite some space with 180 fixed desks. And so once you plan this and plan a completely new building, it is not that you're planning that, a couple of weeks before you move. So the plan goes back almost 4 years. And when we started, or when the construction of the office started, it was like a little bit more than 2 years ago. So way before the pandemic went on. And then last year, when we from this is like really really nice number, March 13, we went from Friday March 13, we went to the home office, and still since then we're still there, and even we have now this beautiful nice office building. We're still in the home office with, I would say, like right now 98% of the employees. So we just have a couple of employees working there because of the moving. So there is still, some stuff you have to move from the old office to the new office. But I mean, the funny thing is really, I really can recommend moving your company during a pandemic, because it gives you a lot of opportunities. Because normally, once you have a construction site and it's a bigger one, it's probably, I mean, the chance that it's going to be delayed is quite big. And so it was with us. So we already had some buffer in, or planned some buffer in, but this was still not enough. So we had to cancel our contracts, our contract with the old office, with the landlord, a year before already. So we canceled it and or terminated it. And the problem would have been, if we would not have been in home office, then we would not have any office, because the new one was not ready and the old one was already terminated. So that was quite, I would say, lucky us that the pandemic is there. I mean, that was one of the good things which came out, besides acceleration and digitization. But that was really kind of good thing. But now we are going to be finished by the end of this month, and probably will have or we will be able to offer, like, let's say 60 to 70 desks already by July, and in the new building. So that will be some change, and we are, I mean, most of the people are already quite looking forward to it, to meet again in the office. And even, I mean, the culture is going to change a little bit more from the only working, because we already had a home office before, but nobody, or not really someone used it before. Now the employees changed their mind also a little bit, because they see that it's working quite well. Also in an agile environment, it's working quite well, and most of them are going to have these thoughts that they're going to work hybrid in the future. But yeah, that was, but the move was quite some stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and for our American listeners, 3,000 square meters is 32,000 square feet for that. So that is quite a large office space. So how are you introducing then new employees into the new space? Do you have a lot of restrictions still in Germany where where only a certain amount of people can come to work, or you have to space out between people?
Yeah, we have a certain amount of people. As I said, we will not be able to use all desks right now. So probably when the incidence is going a little bit down, then we will be able to have more people in the office. But right now, only every second to third desk can be used. And so we have this still. I don't know if it's changing. That the government said that could be changed within the next 1 or 2 weeks to wear masks in the office. So not when you're working on the table, but when you move around, and so you have to wear masks, and that's how it is right now. Yeah, let's see. But I mean, the situation is honestly, I mean, I have looked into that, and really, I mean, we have done a lot of things, and really were very restrictive from the very beginning with the pandemic. And but now it's really also for us, we were really careful, I would say, with everything, but now it's getting really hard on everybody's nerves. So we really hope that the situation with the vaccination and everything is getting better very soon, so that we are able to meet and work. I would say not like before, but somehow very close how it was before.
One thing I'll comment on that Lars said during our interview was that he said that you care more about what he's producing rather than the amount of hours he's putting in, which I thought was very refreshing, rather than worrying about him punching a time clock and having him put in 8.2 hours a day or whatever the time is. Can you just comment on how you've seen that? I mean, number one, going about that mentality, and then seeing it between working remotely and working in office. Do you see any higher or lower productivity from that, from the in office versus out of office? And maybe you could comment a little bit about how you expect productivity from the employees.
I mean, basically, the productivity in the beginning of the pandemic went up in home office. I am not sure why that was. I mean, I have some thoughts about that, probably because a lot of people, I mean, they did more or were kind of more motivated because they were also kind of scared, probably losing their job, or so that they and also wanted to help that the company, you know, will come through the pandemic. So everybody, I mean, it was just kind of I don't know if you know the book from Patrick Lencioni, The Advantage, when he is talking about the team one, which is, I mean, the leadership team in the company, and he has this name. I have not heard that in Germany before, but the rallying cry, when you have something which is, you know, is kind of a danger for the company, or is a dangerous situation, that everybody is, you know, jumping into that and working hard to, you know, solve that problem. And this was in the first, I would say, 2 or 3 months of the pandemic, exactly that. So everybody, you know, worked hard for that. It's that the TechDivision, I mean, the company is coming out from that situation well. And then I think it didn't slow down because the people, because we said that they have to, you know, should let the throttle a little bit, because I think the pace was a little bit too high. So, and then from this time on, I would say it's pretty much the same pace than we had in the office before. But I mean, we didn't have any problems with, you know, time measuring or productivity, because we are not measuring in that, you know, once you do the 8 or 6 hours. I mean, we are looking at what you're going to, or what your team, it's mainly not on an individual level, it's more on a team level. We are looking what the outcome of our team is, and what the value of a team is, and this is what we are measuring weekly and monthly. So this is the great how we are thinking, and what is the value, what we can deliver to customers, because by the end of the month, they have the customer have to see something which is, you know, for value to them, because then they're going to pay us, because we are not getting paid up front. So we're getting paid after we have delivered. So this is the promise what we give to our customers, and I think this is this is a good motivation to deliver something is truly from value.
Yeah, no, that's really good. And I know for myself personally, probably my productivity went up because I would just roll out of bed, drink some coffee, walk to my extra bedroom, turn on my computer, and then sit there till 6 p.m. or something like that. I know I had in the last year, I had so many more 10-hour days than I would have ever had. I would have never gone and stayed at the office for that long if it wasn't just, you know, a half a floor down to go to the kitchen and then walk back up and start doing a little bit more work again. I can't say that was healthy, but it certainly was, it was a change in what we had to do. And I think you're right that productivity did go up, and surprisingly it went up.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I figured out that the quite the same as you said, but that is also quite some danger. I mean, if you're, I mean, I would say I'm a person who is able, as I'm doing this business quite for a while already. I'm able to handle that, handle the pressure and know where I should now work a little bit more, and then also listen to my body and know when I have to do sports and know where I have to sleep and do less and so on, and need some rest. Not everybody is able to, or already have this kind of balance, working more or working less, and can do it by themselves. So there are employees who really need kind of guidance and balance on, or guidance on the balance for themselves. And this is something what, and honestly speaking, for us, or for me as a part of the leadership, it's much more difficult to figure out if someone is exhausted, or is doing, probably is in kind of a bad circle. And as it was in the office, because you can talk to the people on the coffee machine or on the floors, and you have this you have these non-formal conversations, and which you right now in the remote situation, you don't have that many of them. I mean, we have found some kind of ways to have this kind of conversations once in a while, but it's not that regularly, and and also not with everybody by accident. Which, I mean, in the office, I haven't had any office for the last 3 years, so I've always have shared desk within the last year. So when I was in the office, that was not too often, honestly speaking, as I traveled a lot. But when I was in the office, I just sat where there was some space, and so and that was good, because I could feel the vibes and have contact with a lot of people. Now, last year we have employed so many people I have never ever met in person, and this is also kind of a problem in this situation.
Yeah, I know that for myself, moving to the sort of virtual environment, and also figuring out what can we do outside of work. One thing we did was we just formed a daily Zoom stand up, but it wasn't, you couldn't talk about work. And we have a partner manager, Madeline, who would every day come up with a quiz or some kind of a trivia question, and people would just join for 10 minutes or 30 minutes or whatever the amount of time, and they would talk about these things. So maybe we would just have people from Minnesota do that, or anybody could come and join. But that was a good way for people to sort of get themselves away from work for a short amount of time. And myself, I decided that I was going to do a challenge, one of those 30-day streak challenges where you run every single day. And so I did the 30-day streak challenge, and that, not right now, I'm on day 430. So I just didn't stop. I just, for whatever reason, I kept going. The other thing I did was I joined a whole bunch of virtual races, which I'm so tired of virtual races. I joined the Ironman series, where every week you get a new race, and one is a sprint, one is an Olympic, one is a half, and they just rotate them every week. So for about 12 or 15 weeks, I did a race every weekend, and I was so tired. I was just so exhausted. So that helps, though, to like relieve some of that stress. And in Minnesota anyways, we never restricted to staying in our house. Like we could go outside and do whatever we wanted. So that helped. And in the summer we have open water swimming that starts. So, the lakes are open and it's really hard to get coronavirus when you're swimming. So there's lots of opportunities for exercise in our state anyways.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we have just a few minutes left. Why don't you tell us if is there anything, any books you're reading or podcasts you're listening to right now?
Yeah. Besides, I read a lot of from different websites across the commerce industry. There are a couple of books I'm reading or are looking right now into, because I'm not always in the mood, and not always have the mind to read for a longer period. Actually, one is Lean Enterprise from Just Humble, what I'm looking right now into. Just started with it. Then I've read recently again. I already read it years ago, but I read a couple of books from, as I mentioned before, from Patrick Lencioni. The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team is probably the most well-known book from him. And The Advantage is also a book which I really like, because it's kind of, I would say the practice guide to, building your team one, which I really like. And it's a really, really good read. What else? Actually, there is one book from Simon Sinek, Find Your Why, which I think it's quite good one. Yeah. And what I read, I had a holiday a couple of weeks ago, and I read the book from John Strelicky, The Big Five for Life, which I also can recommend. It's quite good read. And I've heard, I mean, I have not read, but he has a couple of other nice books, which probably I will look into.
Yeah, good. And if you could give one piece of action advice to a merchant, what would you say to them?
That's a very, very good, clever question, because honestly speaking, I find it very hard to say that generically, because it's hard to say what someone should or can take away from a commerce podcast like this, since the listeners, I assume, are certainly in completely different areas of e-commerce, and so that it's not really possible to give a generally valid tip, which is which you can apply to your business right now. But what I can give is something which I would say apply to every company right now. And this is the question of the book of why. And so that means why I'm doing this. And this is what really is interesting, because asking the question why I'm doing this and what goal do I want to achieve in the future is something people are not really. And even, we are talking to so many merchants and also, starting then strategic conversations. And sometimes you see, oh my God, this is a really successful story and a really successful business, but the strategy right now is really flat. So there is not really something, like we said in Germany, there is some meat on the bone. And this is something what I want to give everybody here as a, it's not a tip generally, it's something what you should think about, that you really should think about the sustainable strategy in your business. And that does not only apply on commerce, it's everywhere, because I think this will be one of the decisive factors in the future, whether you're going to stay alive or not. Because the question, is coming up more and more also from the new generation of employees. So who am I, or who do I want to be in the future? And this is something what a leader, or a owner of a company or whatever, someone who leads a team, should think about and really take enough time to answer these questions for yourself first, and then build and develop a really decisive strategy on that.
Okay. No, that's great. I mean, that is that I've read the Simon Sinek book, and that is a great little bit of advice that you could give anybody. And you
Yeah,
should do that all the time. Every year you should ask why. Every week you should ask why. Why am I doing this? And even ask, how can I do something better? It doesn't have to be different, just better, or even just constantly questioning whatever you're doing doesn't allow you to go into some stagnant place in marathon running. If you're consistently running at a 10-minute pace, it's going to be very difficult to switch to an 8-minute pace or a 4 km pace or whatever. In when you switch to, when you want to go faster, you're not going to be able to do it because you're stuck at this. You need to practice that thing. You need to ask yourself why you can't go faster or better or different or longer or whatever that question is. No, that's great. I appreciate that.
yeah.
Um, One book that I don't usually say a book, but I just finished reading the book Iron War. It's by Matt Fitzgerald, and it's about the Iron Man when it first started in Hawaii. And I recommend reading it. It's interesting. The middle of the book gets really good, and you want to see how they progressed through this challenge to to do the 140 miles for the Ironman. So I would definitely recommend Iron War by Matt Fitzgerald.
Cool. I will note that down. Thanks.
Yes. So Stefan, why don't you give us, and the last what we normally do is you can give yourself a shameless plug about anything you want.
Oh, that's probably one of my colleagues, and owner of TechDivision will kill me if I'm not doing that. So I have to do that on behalf of him, of our CTO. We are working since a couple of years on something which is, I would say, super important in commerce, and that's the orchestration of interfaces and third-party systems like ERP, PIM solutions, CRM, and because the commerce is really always in the main of the, or in the core of the business, because it have to be integrated with all these back-end systems, and we found out that in bigger environments, the integration using the normal scenarios like with Magento or Adobe Commerce, like you have crons and web services. There are just for bigger environments, or for, I would not say for big environments, there are for environments where you have integrations running all the way and data is flowing all the way down and up, are not enough. And therefore we build a solution which is called Pacemaker. It's kind of an orchestration suite for integrations, with already a lot of out of the box integrations to well-known services like SAP, OData, and product information manager like Akineo or ContentServe or other PIM solution, and also Microsoft Dynamics. There are connectors for that. So I want to use this to advertise Pacemaker a little bit, because there is a website on that, and we are running a solution partner program, and we already have a lot of solution partners from the Magento space here in Europe. And yeah, so if some merchant is interested in getting rid of the pain with their integration and deadlocks or race conditions and or problems with data consistency, then yeah, you should look it up.
Absolutely, and we'll publish all these show notes as well, and get all those links onto the show notes after the episode. So I appreciate that. All right.
Cool.
Well, I thank you for staying up late in Germany tonight and doing the interview. And it was great to see you again. I hope to see you in person soon. My final plug is going to be for an Adobe hackathon and unconference in Orlando, Florida in 2022. And we're going to make a special spot just for you, so you can come and see us in Orlando, Florida. Orlando is where Disney World is, in case you don't know that. But I'm pushing for this little event and conference, or whatever you want to call it, some kind of an event in Orlando, Florida in January, because it gets very cold in Minnesota in January, and we all want to go to Florida. That's
Me
my
too.
little plug. Yeah. All right.
Yeah,
Well,
thank you, Brent.
yeah, thanks again. Have a good evening.
You too. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Cheers. The Talk Commerce podcast is sponsored by SwiftOtter. E-commerce developers solve problems daily. In fact, some of those seem like mountainous hurdles that must be climbed in a matter of hours. Stress levels can go through the roof. No wonder the plague of burnout affects developers too. But there's a vaccine for that. Investing time in your career will take you farther than you ever imagined. Meet SwiftOtter. SwiftOtter exists to help you become the e-commerce hero that is indispensable and irreplaceable at your company. We do this through Magento certification study materials and Joseph Maxwell's most recent book, The Art of E-commerce Debugging. Go to swiftotter.com to learn more about how you can quickly climb the ranks in your quest to be a better developer. While you're there, use the coupon code TALKCommerce for 15% off any digital goods at swiftotter.com. This episode has been sponsored by the partner of choice for technology, infrastructure, and enterprise-level digital solutions, an AWS Select Consulting partner, eWay Corporation. Forward together. Thank you again for listening. My name is Brent Peterson, and it has been my pleasure to be your host today. Please rate and subscribe to Talk Commerce. New shows out every week.